Okay guys, this is take number 19, and I'm kind of over it, so we're just going to go for it. Today I wanted to talk about the influence of social media on a student's educational experience. I directed this problem to Gianna Stockdale because she is the president of the PTA board in Utah. If you don't know, PTA stands for Parent and Teacher Association, and because technology is used in both the home and at school, I believe that she has the greatest influence on this situation. The reason I wanted to talk about this problem today is because I think that people have seen the influence that social media has on students, but I don't think they recognize the direct impact that it has on a student's educational experience. So my claim that I'm making today is social media has a negative impact on a student's education because it is causing them to constantly be comparing themselves to their peers online. They are no longer focused in class because they are constantly thinking about social media. They are losing their social interaction between their peers because they would rather be on their social media, and sometimes social media will cause them to sleep through their classes. Okay, so constant comparison. The very second a student logs on to their social media account, they fall into this comparison trap. We're going to talk a lot about that. So they're constantly comparing their posts to their posts of their friends or to the posts of their celebrities, and they are basing their own personal value on the amount of likes that each post is getting. Whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, social media is designed to keep them coming back and making them want to be the best. And if you don't have the most likes, then you're not the best in social media. So most students are basing their self-worth off of the amount of likes they're getting on social media. It's causing them to say, because I don't have what they have, what I have is not good enough. They are focusing on everything they don't have, which is causing them to lose focus on all the amazing things that they do have. This can lead them to be ungrateful for the things they have, which can instantly lead to depression as students. So for this, I read an article called The Comparison Trap. In this article written by Rebecca Weber, she explains how one girl had a life that was almost unimaginably flawless. She toured Europe, she took pictures to post on her beautiful blog. She had a beautiful family and lived in an apartment in New York. But even this young lady reported to the writer saying, "I have difficult feelings about how I don't have what I want." This woman, who has what most people could only dream of, falls under this comparison trap. So it has to be so easy for a student, whether they're in middle school or high school, to also fall under this trap. And if a student is constantly comparing themselves to others and constantly feeling this feeling of low self-worth and depression, how are we expecting them to fully participate in school if they're so focused on these feelings? So students are losing focus in their educational experience because they're turning their focus into social media. Focus begins to change, so depression begins to seep in because their focus is on whatever they don't have and whatever they are not, all of their flaws that they're comparing to the people on social media. In an article called "Hooked on Our Smartphones," Jane E. Brody states that within the 16 hours of a student being awake, they will look at their phone 150 times a day. If that doesn't seem like an addiction, I don't know what does. But if a student is addicted to social media, if a student is constantly thinking about what is going on online in their accounts, then how do we expect them to focus on their schooling? There's no such thing as multitasking. It just doesn't exist. They cannot put all of their focus on social media as they are and still focus in their schooling. It just doesn't work like that. So, in an article called The Impact of Social Media, a man by the last name of Carr explains this in a better manner, saying, "Getting too involved in social media can lead to an addiction. This causes bad habits. Students prefer to chat with their friends for hours, and this leads to a waste of time that could have been used for studying, playing, or learning new skills. Slowly, students are spending time on social media, and they're wasting the time that could have been spent studying. If you cannot see the direct correlation between social media and a student's educational experience yet, then I don't know how I'm going to do this, because the more time a student spends on social media, the less time they're going to spend studying. So social media may not be so social after all. In an article called "Social Media's Impact on Students' Mental Health Comes into Focus," Kiara Barrett states, "The very definition of social media may be misleading, according to experts who are finding that the more time teens spend on social media, the lonelier and more anxious they are. They're substituting this interaction, this personal interaction that they need with human life, for this artificial social media. They need real friends." In this same article written by Kiara Barrett, she also states, "Keeping up with Snapchat streak isn't the same as catching up. It's not even close. Yet too many teens, according to these experts, are substituting real-life interaction for Instagram posts, and they're paying the price with depression." How often have you found yourself sleeping in class? Because I don't know about you, but I have done it many times. But studies show that this may be because time spent on social media. In an article written by Agata, it explains, the researchers, quote, "The researchers found that using social media at any point was significantly related to decreased sleep quality." This was in an article called "Social Media Use in Teens Linked to Poor Sleep and Anxiety." There is a direct correlation between students falling asleep in class and the amount of time they're spending on social media. A student could stay awake all night on social media and not even realize all the hours that they have spent until it's like 1 a.m. in the morning, and then the next day they find themselves sleeping through class. But social media isn't all that bad. This online interaction can actually open up a whole new world. So I'm sorry for this cheesy graphic, but I just could not resist. Because social media, when intertwined in a lesson, can actually keep students interested. It can keep them interacting in class. It can do so many things. It can open up this whole new world. In an article called "Studies Suggest Benefits of Social Media in a Classroom," Jason explains, Light's report added that social media as a technology that is deemed cool can attract younger learners. So if we could find a good way to weave in social media into our lessons, then we can actually find a way to keep younger students intrigued, because this is what they know. They know social media. But then again, if we use social media incorrectly in class, it can lead to students finding those quick answers. In an article written by Agata, it explains, the article is called "Social Media Use in Teens Linked to Poor Sleep and Anxiety." It also explains that as students use social... So, in an article called "Too Much Face," it explains that students are using those quick answers. They're finding answers on Google and using them to write their essays. And they're not doing all the research and finding all the backup material that they need. So their research is no longer valid. So if social media isn't overused or abused, it can actually have a good impact on a student's educational system. But if we are allowing it to take over their mental, physical, and emotional health, it no longer will be of use. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for listening.